Amara's grandmother had taught her the old ways before she died. "Use your gift wisely, child," she had whispered on her deathbed. Some souls are meant to stay broken. In the heart of the ancient village of Kambara, where baobab trees stretched their arms toward the sky like silent guardians, lived a young woman named Amara. Her hands held magic that no one could explain. When she touched the sick, they became well. When she whispered to broken bones, they mended like new. The villagers called her Blessed One. Children with fever ran to her mud hut. Mothers carried crying babies to her door. Even the village chief bowed his head when he spoke her name. Every morning, she gathered herbs from the forest. Every evening, she ground them into powders and potions. Her small hut always smelled of healing plants and hope. But even the brightest stars cast the darkest shadows. That night, someone left a message at her door, in blood. The red blood words dripped down her wooden door like tears. "Stop or pay the price." Amara's hands shook as she cleaned the message away. Who would threaten her? She had only helped people. She had only brought healing and joy to Kambara village. 3 days later, a stranger arrived. He was tall and thin, with skin like old leather and eyes that seemed to hold secrets. His left arm hung useless at his side, twisted and weak from birth. He walked with a heavy limp, dragging his right foot behind him. "Please," he begged Amara, falling to his knees. "I have traveled far. They say you can heal anyone. My body has been broken since I was born. Help me, Blessed One." The villagers gathered around, watching. They whispered among themselves, pointing at the stranger's twisted form. Some looked away in disgust. Others shook their heads in pity. Amara felt her heart break for him. How could she turn away someone who suffered so much? Her grandmother's warning echoed in her mind. Some souls are meant to stay broken. But surely this poor man deserved kindness. She reached out her hand. The moment she touched him, the world changed forever. Amara's healing power flowed through her fingers like warm river water. The stranger's twisted arm straightened. His useless leg grew strong. His bent back became tall and proud. The villagers gasped in wonder. Even Amara smiled, proud of her strongest healing yet. But something was wrong. The stranger's eyes, they were different now. They glowed with a cold, hungry light. His smile was too wide, showing teeth that seemed too sharp. "Thank you," he said, his voice deeper than before. "You have given me exactly what I needed." He stood up, flexing his new, strong muscles. The villagers stepped back, suddenly afraid. Something felt evil in the air, like the smell before a terrible storm. That night, the village animals began to disappear. First, old Kofi's chickens vanished without a trace. Then young Asha's goat was found with strange marks on its neck. The milk cows gave sour milk. The crops in the fields started to wither and die. The stranger had built himself a hut at the edge of the village. Smoke rose from it day and night, but it was black smoke that smelled of rotting things. People whispered that they heard strange chanting coming from inside. By morning, 3 children had fallen into a deep sleep that nothing could break. The sleeping children lay still as death, breathing but never waking. Their mothers cried over their beds. Their fathers paced like caged leopards, angry and helpless. "It started when the stranger came," whispered Mama Kaisai, the oldest woman in the village. "It started when Amara healed him," said Chief Bamani, his voice heavy with anger. "She has brought a curse upon us all." Amara tried to heal the sleeping children, but her touch did nothing. Her magic seemed weak now, like a fire burning out. The herbs she gathered turned black in her hands. Her healing potions became useless water. The villagers began to avoid her. When she walked through the market, people turned away. Children hid behind their mothers' skirts. Even her closest friends pretended not to see her. "Please," Amara begged Chief Bomani. "Let me try to fix this. I never meant for any harm to come to our people." The chief's eyes were cold as stone. "You should have listened to the warning. You should have known better than to heal someone so wrong." That evening, Amara went to the stranger's hut. She had to know what she had done. She had to understand what evil she had set free in her village. The door was open, but inside was only darkness. And in that darkness, something was waiting for her. Inside the stranger's hut, candles burned with green flames. Strange symbols were drawn on the walls in what looked like dried blood. Animal bones hung from the ceiling, clicking together like wind chimes. The stranger sat in the center, but he looked different now. Taller. Stronger. More frightening. His skin had a strange glow, as if lit from within. "Amara," he said, his voice like honey mixed with poison. "My savior. My liberator." "What are you?" she whispered, her heart beating like a drum. He laughed, a sound that made her skin crawl. "I am what your people call Chai, a dark sorcerer. For 30 years, I was trapped in this weak, broken body. My power was locked away, useless. But you, sweet, foolish girl, you set me free." Amara's blood turned to ice. A dark sorcerer. She had healed a creature of evil magic. Her grandmother's warning finally made sense. "The sleeping children," she gasped. "What have you done to them?" His smile was like a snake's. "They're my payment. Their life force feeds my magic. Soon I will have enough power to take over not just this village, but many villages. And it's all thanks to your gift." Amara backed toward the door, but it slammed shut by itself. "Oh, but we're not finished yet," he said, standing up slowly. "You're going to help me take the rest." "I won't help you," Amara shouted, pulling at the door that wouldn't open. The sorcerer waved his hand, and invisible chains wrapped around her wrists. She couldn't move, couldn't run. "You don't understand," he said, walking closer. "When you healed my body, you created a connection between us. Your healing magic and my dark power are now linked like two rivers flowing into one." He touched her forehead with one finger, and horrible images filled her mind. She saw herself walking through the village like a ghost, touching people with hands that brought not healing, but a curse that stole their strength and gave it to him. "Every person you heal from now on will become weaker," he explained. "Their life force will flow through you to me. And the best part? They will thank you for it, because they won't know what's happening until it's too late." Amara felt sick. "The villagers already hate me. They won't let me near them." The sorcerer laughed. "Oh, but they will. Tomorrow, more children will fall into the cursed sleep. More people will get sick with strange illnesses. They will be desperate. And desperate people always come back to the healer, no matter how much they fear her." The invisible chains released her, and the door creaked open. "Go home, Amara. Rest well. Tomorrow, your real work begins." As she stumbled home, she didn't see the small figure watching from the shadows. The small figure was Django, a 12-year-old boy who was known for being too curious for his own good. He had followed Amara to the sorcerer's hut and heard everything through the thin walls. While the rest of the village slept, Django crept to Amara's hut and knocked softly on her door. "Go away," Amara called out, her voice thick with tears. "I can't help anyone anymore." "I know about the sorcerer," Django whispered through the door. "I heard everything. Let me in." Amara opened the door, surprised to see the young boy standing there with determination in his eyes. "You have to fight him," Django said as he stepped inside. "My little sister Nia is one of the sleeping children. If you don't stop him, she'll die." "I can't," Amara sobbed. "My healing power is connected to his evil magic now. Everything I touch will make him stronger." Django sat beside her on the floor. "My grandmother used to tell stories about the old magic. She said that every curse has a way to be broken. We just have to find it. Where would we even look?" The boy's eyes brightened. "In the sacred cave behind the waterfall. That's where the ancient spirits live. If anyone knows how to break a sorcerer's curse, they will." Amara shook her head. "That place is forbidden. No one is allowed to go there." "Sometimes," Django said quietly, "breaking the rules is the only way to save the people you love." Before dawn, Amara and Django slipped out of the village like shadows. They walked for hours through the thick forest, following paths that few people knew existed. The waterfall was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Water crashed down from high rocks, creating mist that sparkled in the early morning light. Behind the falling water, hidden from view, was the mouth of the sacred cave. "Are you sure about this?" Amara asked as they climbed over slippery rocks. No, Django admitted. But I'm sure about saving my sister. They squeezed through the gap behind the waterfall. The cave was dark and cold, with strange paintings on the walls that seemed to move in the flickering light of their torch. Deep inside the cave, they found what they were looking for. An ancient altar surrounded by carved stones. On the altar sat a bowl made from a single piece of black rock. As they approached, the air began to shimmer. 3 ghostly figures appeared, floating above the altar. They were the spirits of the first healers, the ones who had lived in this land 1,000 years ago. "Why do you disturb our rest, child of healing?" the center spirit asked, her voice echoing off the cave walls. Amara told them everything about the stranger, the curse, the sleeping children, and her connection to the dark sorcerer's power. The spirits listened in silence. "There is a way," the first spirit finally said. "But the price will be higher than you can imagine." "Tell me," Amara said without hesitation. "Whatever the price is, I'll pay." The 3 spirits looked at each other with sad, ancient eyes. "To break the connection between your healing power and his dark magic," the first spirit explained, "you must give up your gift forever." Amara's heart stopped. Her healing touch was everything to her. It was who she was, her purpose in life. "But that's not all," the second spirit continued. "To truly defeat him, you must use your healing power one last time, to heal the village's memory of him." "I don't understand," Django said. The third spirit spoke for the first time. "The sorcerer's power grows stronger with every person who fears him, who thinks about him, who speaks his name. If the entire village forgets he ever existed, his magic will have nothing to feed on. He will become powerless." "But healing an entire village's memory," Amara whispered. "That would take all of my life force. I would die." The spirits nodded gravely. "That is the price. Your life for your village. Your death for their freedom." Django grabbed Amara's arm. "No, there has to be another way." "There is one other choice," the first spirit said slowly. "You could join with us. Become a spirit guardian of this place. You would live forever, but you could never return to the world of the living." Amara closed her eyes, thinking of the sleeping children, the frightened villagers, the growing evil that was her fault. "I know what I have to do," she said, and the cave fell silent. Amara chose life as a spirit guardian. It was the only way to save her village without leaving them completely defenseless against future threats. The ancient spirits taught her the ritual she needed to perform. She had to return to the village and touch the center of the sacred baobab tree while speaking the words of forgetting. "Remember," the first spirit warned, "once you speak those words, the connection to your mortal body will break. You will become like us, able to help, but never again able to live among the people you love." Amara and Django returned to the village just as the sun was setting. More children had fallen into the cursed sleep. Adults were getting sick with strange illnesses that made them weak and tired. The sorcerer stood in the village center, laughing as people begged Amara to help their loved ones. "Go ahead," he called out to her. "Heal them. Make them feel better. They don't need to know that each healing makes me stronger." Amara walked to the great baobab tree in the center of the village. Everyone watched as she placed her hands on its ancient bark. "What are you doing?" the sorcerer demanded, suddenly looking worried. Amara began to speak the ancient words. They flowed from her mouth like music, in a language older than memory. The sorcerer screamed and ran toward her, but it was too late. The tree began to glow with golden light, and everything changed. The golden light spread out from the baobab tree like ripples in a pond. It washed over every person in the village, gentle and warm. One by one, the villagers' expressions changed. The fear left their faces. The anger melted away. They looked around in confusion, as if waking up from a strange dream. "What's wrong with everyone?" someone asked. "Why do we all look so scared?" The sorcerer was screaming, but his voice was getting fainter and fainter. As the villagers forgot about him, his power drained away like water from a broken pot. "No," he shouted, his strong body beginning to shrivel. "Remember me. Fear me." But no one could hear him anymore. In their minds, he had never existed. Amara felt her own body becoming lighter, more transparent. The connection to the mortal world was breaking, just as the spirits had warned. Django was the only one who could still see her clearly. The ritual had not erased his memory because he had helped perform it. "Amara," he whispered, tears in his eyes. "Don't go." "I have to," she said, her voice already sounding distant. "But I'm not really leaving. I'll always be here, watching over Kimbara village." The sleeping children woke. The sick people stood up, healthy and strong. The crops in the fields turned green once again. But in the celebration of their healing, no one noticed the young healer fading away like morning mist. Amara's mortal body dissolved into sparkles of golden light that danced around the baobab tree before disappearing. But her spirit remained, invisible to all except Django and the other spirit guardians. The sorcerer, now powerless and forgotten, had become nothing more than a confused old man with a twisted body. He wandered away from the village, remembering nothing of his evil magic or his plans for revenge. The villagers went back to their normal lives, but something was different. They were kinder to each other. They helped their neighbors more. They took better care of the sick and elderly. It was as if Amara's final healing had not just erased the sorcerer from their memories, but had also filled their hearts with the compassion she had always shown. Only Django knew the truth. He visited the baobab tree every day, talking to the spirit he couldn't see but knew was listening. "The village is doing well," he would report. "Old Mama Kaisai's cough is gone. Little Kwame's broken leg healed perfectly. The harvest is the best we've had in years." Sometimes, when someone in the village was very sick or very sad, they would feel a gentle touch like warm hands on their shoulders. They never knew where it came from, but it always made them feel better. The wise ones said it was the blessing of the ancestors. The spiritual ones said it was the love of the old gods. Only Django knew it was Amara, still healing her people from beyond the world of the living. As the years passed, Django grew from a curious boy into a wise young man. He had kept Amara's secret all this time, never telling anyone about the sorcerer or the sacrifice she had made. But on his 18th birthday, something strange happened. When he touched his sick grandfather's forehead, the old man's fever broke instantly. When he helped a neighbor's cow that couldn't give milk, suddenly the animal was healthy again. That night, as he sat by the baobab tree, Amara's spirit appeared to him more clearly than ever before. "You have been chosen," she said, her voice like wind through leaves. "The spirits have seen your brave heart and pure intentions. You will be the new healer of Kimbara village." "But I don't know how," Django said. "I don't know the herbs or the medicines." Amara smiled. "I will teach you. But remember the lesson I learned too late. Some souls are meant to stay broken. Trust your heart to know the difference between healing and meddling with fate." Under Amara's guidance, Django became the village healer. He was careful and wise, always listening to the spirits before using his gift. He turned away those who came with evil in their hearts. He refused to heal injuries that were meant to teach important lessons. The villagers loved him, but not with the blind worship they had once given Amara. They respected him as a healer, but they also saw him as a friend, a neighbor, a human being with both strengths and weaknesses. And in the sacred cave behind the waterfall, the ancient spirits smiled, knowing that the lessons of the past would protect the future. 20 years later, when Django had gray in his hair and wisdom in his eyes, another stranger came to Kimbara village. This one was a beautiful woman with smooth skin and bright eyes. But there was something hungry in her smile, something cold in her laugh. She came to Django's healing hut with a story of great pain. She spoke of a curse that had made her barren, unable to have children. She begged him to use his gift to heal her womb and give her the family she had always wanted. Django listened carefully, but something felt wrong. The woman's story was sad, but her eyes showed no real sadness. Her voice trembled with fake emotion. That night, he went to the baobab tree and asked for guidance. Amara's spirit appeared, more worried than he had ever seen her. "She is like the sorcerer," Amara warned. "A creature of dark magic wearing a mask of suffering. If you heal her, you will not give her the ability to have children, you will give her the power to steal children from other mothers." Django nodded. I felt the evil in her, but I wanted to be sure. This is the test, Amara said. Every healer must face it eventually. The choice between mercy and wisdom. Between kindness and safety. The next morning, the woman returned, expecting Django to heal her. Instead, he looked her in the eyes and spoke words that would change everything. I cannot heal what was never broken, and I will not restore what was justly taken away. The woman's beautiful face twisted with rage when she heard Django's refusal. How dare you, she screamed, her voice becoming deeper and more frightening. I am Nyota, the child stealer. I have taken babies from 100 villages. You will heal me, or I will curse every child in Kimbara. But Django was ready. Amara had taught him the old protections, the words that could shield the innocent from dark magic. He began to chant in the ancient language she knew not, and the baobab tree started to glow with the same golden light that had appeared years before. Nyota shrieked and tried to run, but the light surrounded her like a cage. You cannot banish me, she cried. I am too powerful. I'm not banishing you, Django said calmly. I'm sending you home. The golden light grew brighter and brighter until no one could see what was happening. When it faded, Nyota was gone. But unlike the forgotten sorcerer, she had not been erased from memory. She had been sent back to the dark realm where creatures like her belonged. The villagers had seen everything this time. They understood that their healer had protected them from something terrible. How did you know? Asked Chief Bomani's daughter, who was now the village leader. Django smiled and looked up at the baobab tree. A wise spirit taught me that healing isn't just about making people better. Sometimes it's about keeping evil from spreading. That night, for the first time in 20 years, Amara's spirit was visible to everyone in the village. Amara's glowing form appeared in the center of the village as the people gathered around the baobab tree. They gasped in wonder and fear, for they had never seen a spirit so clearly before. Do not be afraid, Amara said, her voice carrying to every corner of the village. I am your guardian, your protector. I have watched over you for 20 years. Old memories began to stir in some of the villagers' minds. They remembered fragments of a time when a young woman with healing hands had lived among them. I was once like you, Amara continued. I lived in your village. I healed your sick. I loved your children as if they were my own. She told them the story they had forgotten, about the sorcerer, the curse, the sacrifice she had made to save them all. But why show yourself now? Asked the village leader. Because, Amara said, Django will not live forever. When his time comes to join the spirits, you must be ready to choose the next healer wisely. Not all who claim to heal are truly healers. Not all who offer help truly want to help. She pointed to 3 young people in the crowd, a girl who always cared for injured animals, a boy who shared his food with hungry families, and a young woman who sang lullabies to crying babies. Watch these 3, Amara said. One of them will inherit the gift when Django's time is done. But remember, the gift of healing is also the burden of choosing. Teach them well. As her spirit began to fade back into invisibility, she spoke one final warning. The child stealer will return, and she will not come alone. Amara's warning about the child stealer's return sent fear through the village. But this time, they would not face the darkness, ignorant and unprepared. Django began training the 3 chosen ones, Zara, who healed animals, Kofi, who fed the hungry, and Asha, who comforted children. Each had a different kind of healing gift, and each would be needed for what was coming. Evil rarely travels alone, Django taught them. When one dark creature is defeated, others often come to take revenge. He showed them how to recognize false pain from real suffering. He taught them the ancient protection chants. Most importantly, he helped them understand that sometimes the cruelest mercy is to refuse to heal. The village also prepared in practical ways. They built stronger walls around their homes. They created hiding places for the children. They appointed watchers to guard the paths leading to Kimbara. 3 months after Nyota's banishment, the watchers brought disturbing news. Strange things are happening in the neighboring villages, reported Django's nephew. Children have been disappearing. Mothers wake up to find empty beds and no trace of their little ones. And there are rumors, added another watcher, of a beautiful woman who appears just before the children vanish. She sings lullabies that make people fall into deep sleep. Django nodded grimly. Nyota has found another way to steal children, even without the power she wanted me to restore to her. That night, they heard it, a hauntingly beautiful song drifting through the forest toward their village. The lullaby was the most beautiful sound anyone had ever heard. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, from the trees, from the wind, from the very air itself. One by one, the villagers began to yawn. Their eyelids grew heavy. Children stopped playing and lay down where they stood. Adults sat on the ground and leaned against walls. But Django and his 3 apprentices were ready. They had plugged their ears with beeswax mixed with sacred herbs. The song could not reach them. They watched in horror as everyone else in the village fell into a deep, magical sleep. Even the animals. The dogs, the chickens, the goats, lay down as if the whole world had been turned into a land of dreams. Then she appeared. Nyota walked into the village, no longer beautiful. Her time in the dark realm had changed her. Her skin was pale as moonlight, her eyes glowed red, and her fingers had grown long like claws. Behind her came others, creatures of shadow and nightmare, drawn by the promise of stolen children. "Where are my little ones?" Nyota sang, her voice sweet as honey but cold as death. "Come to me, children of Kambara. Come and sleep forever in my realm of dreams." The sleeping children began to rise from where they lay, walking toward her like ghosts. Their eyes were closed, but their feet moved on their own. Django knew this was the moment everything depended on. He looked at his 3 apprentices. "Remember what you've learned," he whispered. "Trust in your gifts." And then they stepped out to face the child stealer and her army of darkness. Zara was the first to act. As the child stealer's creatures advanced, she called out to the sleeping animals of the village. Her gift with creatures great and small awakened them even through the magical song. The dogs shook off their drowsiness and began to bark warnings. The roosters crowed loudly. The goats bleated and charged at the shadow creatures, breaking their formation. Kofi used his gift next. He had always been able to share what he had with those who needed it most. Now he shared his own life force, sending streams of energy to the sleeping villagers to help them fight against the magical drowsiness. Some of the adults began to stir, though they remained mostly asleep. Asha's gift was the most powerful against Nyota herself. The child stealer's lullaby was meant to comfort children into eternal sleep, but Asha's voice carried the comfort of true love, not false promises. She began to sing her own lullaby. One that spoke of safe homes, loving families, and the joy of waking up to bright morning sunshine. Her song clashed with Nyota's in the air above the village. Where the 2 songs met, sparks of light and shadow fought like tiny lightning bolts. But Nyota was ancient and powerful. The shadow creatures kept advancing. The sleeping children continued to walk toward the child stealer, getting closer and closer to being taken forever. Django realized that all their training, all their gifts, might not be enough. That's when Amara's spirit appeared, brighter than ever before, and spoke words that shook the earth. "You want the children? You'll have to go through their guardian first." Amara's spirit blazed with golden light as she placed herself between Nyota and the sleeping children. But she was not alone. Behind her appeared the spirits of every healer who had ever protected Kambara village, dozens of glowing figures stretching back through centuries. "You have no power here," Nyota snarled. "You are dead. The dead cannot touch the living." "We are not dead," Amara replied, her voice carrying the strength of all the spirits behind her. "We are eternal. We are the love that never dies, the protection that never ends, the healing that transcends death itself." The army of guardian spirits spread out across the village, each one standing next to a sleeping child. Their combined light was so bright that the shadow creatures began to shriek and retreat. But the battle was far from over. Nyota raised her clawed hands and called upon the darkest magic she knew. The ground cracked beneath her feet. The air turned cold as winter. Her song became a scream of rage that shattered windows and made the baobab tree tremble. "If I cannot take them," she screamed, "then I will destroy them all." Dark energy shot from her hands toward the sleeping villagers. It would have killed them all instantly. But Django threw himself forward, arms spread wide. The dark magic struck him instead, and he collapsed to the ground. "No!" Asha cried, running to her teacher. Django was still breathing, but barely. The evil magic was eating away at his life force like acid. "I can heal him," Zara said desperately. "We can heal him," Kofi added. But Amara's spirit shook her head sadly. "This is one wound that cannot be healed by mortal hands alone." "There is only one way to save him," Amara said, kneeling beside Django's dying body. "A spirit must give up their eternal rest to restore his life force." The other guardian spirits looked at each other with ancient, knowing eyes. "I will do it," said the oldest spirit, she who had been the first healer of Kinvara. "I have watched over this village for 1,000 years. It is time for my watch to end." "No," Amara said firmly. "This is my responsibility. I brought the first evil to this village when I healed the sorcerer. I must be the one to pay the final price." Nyota laughed cruelly. "Yes! Sacrifice yourself, foolish spirit. When you are gone, nothing will protect these people from me." But Amara smiled. "You still don't understand, do you? The power was never in any one healer. It was always in the love that connects all of us." She placed her glowing hands on Django's chest, and her spirit began to dim as her eternal essence flowed into him. "Zara," she said, her voice growing faint. "Your gift with animals will grow to include healing all living things. Kofi, your ability to share will become the power to transfer illness from the sick to yourself, then heal both. Asha, your comfort will become the ability to ease not just fear, but pain itself." As her spirit faded away completely, Django's eyes opened. He was healed, but he was no longer the village's only healer. The three apprentices felt Amara's gifts flowing into them, and they understood that they were now the guardians of Kinvara. With Amara's final sacrifice complete, the three new healers stood together, their combined power stronger than any single healer had ever been. Nyota's song faltered as she realized what had happened. "3 healers? That's impossible." "Nothing is impossible when it's done out of love," Zara said, her hands already glowing with healing light. The child stealer tried to retreat, but it was too late. The three healers joined hands and began to chant in harmony. Their voices wove together like golden threads, creating a spell of banishment stronger than any that had come before. The shadow creatures dissolved like mist in sunlight. Nyota screamed as she was pulled back toward the dark realm, but this time, the door would be sealed forever. "You cannot keep evil away forever," she cried as she disappeared. "Somewhere, somehow, darkness will always find a way. And when it does," Django said, standing up with renewed strength, "there will always be healers ready to stand against it." The magical song of sleep finally ended. The villagers woke up, confused but safe. The children ran to their parents' arms. The animals returned to their normal lives. But something had changed in Kinvara. The people could feel it, a sense of protection stronger than ever before. Not just from one guardian spirit, but from the knowledge that love and sacrifice had created something unbreakable. As the sun rose over the village, Django gathered everyone around the baobab tree and told them the whole story, including Amara's final sacrifice. And so the legend was born of the healer who became a guardian, whose love protected her people even beyond.